Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, it's where the game starts.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans, and welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. This episode is being dropped on the 20th day of February. Pitchers and catchers have not reported. Yuck. Thanks so much for making us your first listen, as we're available on all your free podcasting catchers. And hey, why not make your second listen be Locked On Bets, hosted by your boy Q, and with expert analysis from Lee Sterling. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Twitter at Locked On MLB Pod. Same handle for Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Hey, I've got a couple of things to just sort of do, I guess, a little business to take care of. If you want to help promote the show, please, post whether it's the YouTube links or whether you're listening on an Apple Podcast or Spotify, wherever the heck you listen to us, whatever podcast catcher you use, say that 3 times fast. Just please put a link out on Twitter, let people know. And also, if you happen to be following us via Apple Podcasts, if you can write us a review, and just if you like the show, just say what you like about it. And you know what? If you criticize the show, I frankly enjoy hearing what people have to say. I actually get a chuckle when people really don't like it. But if there's stuff you want me to say or things you want me to change, just let me know. The other thing I want to bring up is that the lockout is raging on, and that's going to be part of today's conversation. I would love it if some people threw some topics my way. I'm coming up with topics. I love coming up with topics when there's no ball games going on. But if there's anything you want to know, hear about, a couple of you have thrown stuff my way, and I'm working on some responses for that, including an all-time favorite roster of players. I'm coming up with a 25-man roster of my favorite players in my entire life of watching baseball. But I'm not going to include any members who predominantly played their careers with the Boston Red Sox or the San Francisco Giants, for that matter. The reason I'm making that distinction, I grew up a huge Boston Red Sox fan in the suburbs of Boston, where I'm a native New Englander, but we moved to the San Francisco Bay Area when I was in high school, and my father, may rest in peace, was a rabid New York Giant fan, and then became a rabid San Francisco Giant fan. So the Giants became my National League team, and I followed the Giants probably as closely as most people follow their primary team. So I have emotional attachments to players on the Red Sox and the Giants. Sadly, if they ever play each other in the World Series, the Boston Red Sox and the San Francisco Giants, that has never happened. The Red Sox played the New York Giants way back when, 1912. But if the Red Sox and the Giants ever play in the World Series against each other, I won't be able to watch it with my dad. So that's my one baseball regret, I guess, has happened. But I want to come up with a 25-man roster of each position, and I'm trying not to have it all be people I grew up watching as well. Although there are going to be people who made a huge impression on me as a kid. Mike Schmidt is going to be on there. Don't deny that. But then again, Ken Griffey Jr. is probably my favorite player to have never played on the Red Sox or on the Giants. My favorite player of all time is Pedro Martinez. But obviously he was predominantly the Red Sox. I'm a huge Barry Bonds fan, mainly because of the happiness he gave my dad, but he's not qualified either. And so, Lincecum and Bumgarner are two who can't be on it either. The reason why I'm chuckling, and I'm going a little bit off of what I was planning to do here, but I have to explain why I'm chuckling. I'm thinking of my dad, as I do a lot, And my dad loved the Giants. He watched every game. He listened to every game, even when they stunk. And he loved Lincecum, and he loved Bumgardner, and he loved Kane as well. He loved that team. He loved Bochy and that all those players, Sandoval, Posey, Hunter Pence, all the players on the team. He just really loved, but he loved Lincecum and Bumgardner. But here's the thing about my dad. My dad was one of the smartest people I ever met. He was one of the most caring people I ever met. He sometimes had troubles with names. I used to make fun of him doing stand up because he would get movie titles wrong all the time. You don't even want to know how he mangled the Shawshank Redemption, but he would sing songs, and I used to say there should be a album of Kevin Sullivan paraphrases your favorite songs because he would always get the lyrics just wrong. And then he would sometimes have he loved Lincecum and Bumgarner. Watched, probably every one of their starts. When I really think about it, the amount of Giant games my father watched, he probably watched every game started by Bumgarner and Lincecum. And the one thing I could say, though, is in all those games that Bumgarner and Lincecum started, my father never pronounced their names correctly. Lincecum, 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 Boomgarner, Bamgarner, Baumgartner. There was always something slightly off. Boomgardner. But he loved them. He loved those players. So I'm working on that right now. A couple other things that I had a response. I was going to quickly go to here before I go to what I was planning to do. I had talked about hills I was willing to die on in terms of the I was okay with the universal DH. I don't really want a universal DH, but if that's what's standing between now and playing baseball, then fine, love a universal DH. I was adamant that we can't do Ghost Runner on second anymore. I really thought that was a disaster, an absolute disaster. It made me not want to see games go into extra innings. And also, I just don't mess with batting orders. It completely spits in the face of what makes baseball great. But I got a great response from Kyle King. Frequent, I think he may be the one who asked the question initially. Either way, I kind of forget. Forgive me, Kyle. But Kyle frequently responds on my Twitter handle, which is at Sully Baseball. Um, I'd happily die on those hills with you, referring to Ghost Runner on second and not messing up the batting order. Couldn't agree more. I would also add the 7 inning games. I can support the idea of a regular season tie after 12, but no planned games shorter than 7 innings. Um, it's funny, Kyle, because this is one of those instances on paper, I 100% agree with you. The 7 inning doubleheader was a necessity in the COVID season of 2020. There's a lot of things that you kind of have to forgive. I'm thinking of the scene in Goodfellas when Paulie says to Ray Liotta, "You did what you have to do in prison, but not anymore. Like we did what we had to do under COVID, but that's it. That's when we had you were playing things within the division and everything like within the regions and not the divisions. I'll get to that in a second. I get that. I understand that, but the fact of the matter is, I actually didn't mind it. I didn't mind the 7 inning doubleheader when they did it again in 2021. Um, I know I'm supposed to hate that. And I know the difference between having the lead after 7 innings as opposed to after 9 innings is that's a big thing. There are a lot of teams that have the lead after seven, a lot of big, huge playoff wins. You would have crowned the Cleveland Indians the 1997 World Series champion after 7 innings. But I have to admit, there were some times when I knew it was going to be a doubleheader that I didn't mind the Reader's Digest version of baseball, that I didn't mind what was happening in terms of, yeah, we got to speed this up. We got the wall is coming down faster. And it's the sort of thing that makes me think more about things like the universal DH in that, I wonder if that's one of those things that I objected to in theory, but in practice, it's something I could be all for. They're doing away with it, and if they do away with it, fine, fine. But it's funny that that is a hill that I probably would have thought I would have absolutely have died on. But man, maybe not now. Maybe not now. But it's an example of like when something like COVID hits, sometimes you got to pop the hood and sometimes you got to just sort of tinker with the engine and see what makes it work. It's kind of like when you have to work on your car. And if you got to do any work on your car, I got two words for you: Rock Auto. This episode is brought to you in part by Rock Auto. With the ever increasing numbers of makes and models, it's impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts that you need. Why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questions like, oh, is this an Odyssey, an LX, or is it an EX? I don't even know. It's a car. My car takes me from here to my job and back. And everything that's happening in it, for all I know, it's a mouse running on a wheel. I'm not the guy you want to be asking questions like that to. I don't need to be intimidated. I'm intimidated enough. That's why I love places like rockauto.com. If you're trying to order a part, the guy at the store is just going tippy tap behind there, and he's just going to order from whatever he can get the best deal from. They have computers, and you have computers. You've got a laptop. You've got a smart device. And with all that, you can use rockauto.com. You can save time. You can save money using Rock Auto. It's a family business serving do-it-yourselfers or schmucks like me for over 20 years. Rock Auto's prices are reliably low for every customer, so go explore their easy-to-use website today. To find the solution for your auto parts need, go to rockauto.com right now or after the show and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Right, Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box, so they know that we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, and all the parts your car will ever need are at rockauto.com. And if you need a boost, may I suggest a Built Bar? Built Bars. This is the time of the year a lot of us give up on our New Year's resolution, but not your pal Sully. I'm sticking with it this year. I'm going to eat right. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to be more healthy. And thanks to Built Bar, that's easier to do. Do you know what? Have you tried the puffs? Dad, seriously, try the puffs. You're missing out. They're some of the best things Built Bar has ever made. They're protein-infused marshmallow. Huh? They did it. They did what they said could not be done. That they put protein in marshmallow. They're fluffy. They're marshmallowy. They're not just a protein bar. They're a treat. And they're covered in 100% real chocolate. The puffs are a fan favorite with incredible flavors. They got the cinnamony churro, coconut marshmallow, and banana cream pie. They're so good. They're going to be your new favorite. I almost said that with a calypso beat. And do you know what? They're covered in 100% chocolate, the puffs included. Real chocolate, low calorie, high protein. Replace your candy bars with these. They're better. A typical candy bar can be anywhere from 200 to 300 calories. Go to built.com, scroll down the macros chart. You're going to be blown away. High protein, low calorie, high fiber, low carb. Most Built Bars contain, 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 grams of net carbs, and 17 grams of protein compared to a candy bar, which it's a candy bar. Do I have to explain to you that candy bars are not good for you? Eating lots of candy bars have put you to the point where you need to go lose some weight and grab the Built Bar instead. Huh? My voice just came down. Think about all the flavors. How many flavors they got? Mint brownie, you love it. Coconut almond. My personal favorite is raspberry. And new this month, you got white chocolate cookies and cream. They're all delicious. And new flavors are coming out all the time. If they come up with a flavor they think will be good, they'll make it first, they'll make it delicious, and it'll be good for you. At Built Bar, it's all about the taste. They make it taste delicious first, then they figure out how to make it healthy. I don't know how they do it, but they pull it off every single time. Go to Built.com, use promo code LOCK15, you get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at Built.com. Okay, and hey, what else do we need to talk about? Hey, this is fun. Locked On MLB Prospects is hosted by friend of the podcast, Lindsey Crosby. And he's a prospect encyclopedia, and he's going deep on the Major League Baseball stars of tomorrow. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts. So there you go. Hey, let's just talk a couple of things here. Um, I was thinking about the movie Doctor Strangelove in regards to the current state of the Major League Baseball lockout. Now, if you haven't seen Doctor Strangelove, it's an old film, came in 1964. It's I think one of the greatest movies of all time, and it's a comedy about the end of the world. It's a comedy about nuclear war and nuclear annihilation and the destruction of the planet Earth. It's funny. However, you might think that if I'm thinking about Doctor Strangelove, then I'm thinking about the destruction of the planet Earth and some sort of correlation between that and baseball causing its own destruction. But that's not the scene I was thinking about. There's a scene when the it appears it's been leaked that the Russians have attacked all the major cities in the United States, and we're following an Air Force base that impounds radios so subversive messages can't be sent to the soldiers. And when the main character, played by Peter Sellers, turns on a radio, he hears they're playing music on all the channels. It's nothing's happened. No one's talking about the Russian attack. And he realizes, wait a minute, there isn't a Russian attack. This is all a hoax. Because if the Russians were attacking us, why would all the radio stations be playing music? Now, why am I thinking about that scene specifically? Because my inbox is filled with emails from the Dodgers, the A's, the Giants, and the Angels about tickets, individual tickets, season tickets, package of tickets, group tickets. Hey, we're going to be here for this ticket and that ticket. And I'm looking at that thinking, if they were about to drop the bomb on the sport, if Major League Baseball was going to go through the self-destruction like the countries were in the movie Doctor Strangelove, would I be getting those emails? You could say cynically, they're just trying to get all that money right now and then what they'll refund it. But I also think that that's a sign of, no, they're going to need all that money. They're going to need that money. And because of that, because that's on their mind, and because they're starting to see that if people don't start responding yes to that, people don't start buying tickets, the available balance is going down, the urgency to start playing will go up, which makes me think the urgency is already there. We've been hearing rumors that they're going to resume talks tomorrow, being Monday. Call me crazy, and believe me, I've read the comments. I've been called worse. I think that Major League Baseball and the Players Association are going to come to an agreement soon for the following reasons. And I covered some of them last week. The fact that they are actually talking about the issues that are on the table, even if they're not close to them, they're at least talking about them, meaning that both sides have a drop dead number uh, on both ends in possible compromises. They are talking about service time. They are talking about free agent compensation. They are talking about arbitration eligibility. They are talking about expansion of the playoffs. They are talking about uh, you know amateur amateur signings and amateur bonus pools. So they're talking about the things, and then, while they may be far away, they're at least talking about them. And as I said the other day, I don't throw a lot of credence. They only met for 15 minutes. Well, maybe they need to hear, what do you want to do? Okay, we got to go to a corner and talk about it. The idea of following the money from All the President's Men, another one of the great movies of all time. Again, not exactly a feel good, cheery double feature that would make. But the fact that people are going to start losing money soon, players are going to start losing money, owners are going to start losing money. And I've discovered over the years that people who have a lot of money don't like having their streams of income being shut off. I think there is going to be a sense of urgency. I do. Again, I've been overly optimistic about this whole process, and quite frankly, my optimism has not exactly been rewarded over the last few weeks. But the fact that I keep seeing the call for tickets makes me think, huh, huh. I wonder, wonder, as I keep doing my older references here, would it be possible that there is an underlying current of a need to do it because we got to get these tickets sold? Look, I can't make it any clearer. I've always been pro player, but this is not about my being pro player or pro owner. I'm pro baseball at this point, and I would be able to work with them pro bono if it means getting this season up and running. But the fact that they're getting a little itchy, and the fact that we're starting to see all these articles saying, well, once the lockout's lifted, we're going to go for this player, that player, this player, or that, which means they're thinking about the lockout being over, and it's going to be essential for the lockout to be over very soon. So the fact that I'm getting all these calls for ticket sales in the middle of an owner inflicted lockout, and again, I can't emphasize this enough, the owners can end the lockout before I finish this sentence. All right. But that being said, I do think something's going to happen. My email box, like the radios in Doctor Strangelove, are pointing to a certain way. In fact, I'm willing to bet on it. I'm willing to bet that we're going to have an agreement and that we're going to get a season started. Well, maybe not completely on time, but in April. I'm going to put that down. I say you bet on that. If you're going to put down that bet, go to BetOnline. Football might be over the season, but basketball is in full stream for both pro and college hoops. From the latest odds, totals, player performance props to where the next fired coach is going to land, BetOnline is the #1 spot for all your sports betting needs. BetOnline remains the best spot for your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. Not just for basketball, betonline.net is your source for hockey, boxing, UFC, right down to the Olympic coverage and information. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn about the trends and the action. BetOnline is where the game starts. One last thing I'm going to do today, I'm going to go over one more piece of what's the word I'm looking for? One more tweet that I got. And again, please send me any thoughts, any topics you want me to cover. Jeff Cohen 41 on Twitter. He's been a guest on the show. He peppers me with tons of great questions. This is another rule change because I am all for a pitch clock. I'm 100% for a pitch clock. And again, watching the 1972 World Series and playoffs, doing research on my book that I just finished writing another chapter of, the pace of those games are so much different than the pace now. Pace, as I said, pace of play does not equal game length. Pace of play is how fast the game is being played. And there was a lot of times, strike one, ball back to the pitcher comes to the set, here comes the pitch, strike two. The number of seconds between pitches is astronomically lower from before than it is for what we see today. Let's set the pitch clock. I think I think it's 30 seconds you have to get a pitch out. But whatever it is, let's put it at 40. Let's put it at 40. In fact, let's just say that right now. Let's set the pitch clock here for 40 seconds, okay? And okay, the ball comes back to the pitcher and now. Probably should be quicker than that because we're right now only at 34 seconds. Gets the sign, comes to the set. Okay, this will be 20 seconds. Batter steps out, taps their foot. Man, 40 seconds is too long. 40 seconds is too long. Okay, this was coming up to 30 seconds. All right, now he calls time, adjusts his cup, gets back in. Here comes the pitch, and boom, that's 40 seconds. Now, my compromise is that's 40 seconds, including a mound visit. Run up, say your thing, and run back. You got 40 seconds. I'd probably cut it down to 30, but whatever it is, I'm all for a pitch clock that will keep it going. You got to throw a pitch. And if the batter back in what Jeff Cohen says, how about the pitcher's allowed to throw the ball if the batter is not in the batter's box and time's not been called by the umpire? Well, that's already the case. That's already the case. If a batter backs out and he hasn't called time, the ump doesn't have to grant time. Doesn't have to grant time. And if someone steps out of the box and zoom right down the middle, guess what? That's a strike. But I mean, let's say, I mean, we just counted off what 40 seconds was. Let's call it 30. 30 to me is reasonable. Let's count 30 seconds. Okay. After 30 seconds, whoever is delaying the pitch gets the penalty. If it's the pitcher steps off and he wants to go over the signs again or put more, rosin on his fingers or whatever, then ball. If the batter steps out one more time as the clock is running out, strike. There you go. Let's go. Get in there. Get in there. If we're going to universal DH this, if we're willing to do these other artificial things, get your butt in there. I mean, it is the one thing where I become old man Sully. And I look at old games and I look at new games. I go like, just pitch. Throw the GD pitch. And umpires stop granting time. If something flown in the batter's eye, if a midge flew in there like it did in 2007 in Cleveland, that's one thing. If there's something happening in straightaway center field that's causing a kind of a dangerous reflection, that's one thing. But if it's like, oh, I'm out of rhythm. What's it again? My vibes aren't good, man. Baby, I need to step out of the box, baby. I don't know why I'm talking like that. That's what I think of when they step out. Throw it in there. Throw the pitch. Let's go. Next pitch. Boom. Boom. Going through your hat, or looking through the hat, and what was our scouting report there? Think about two of them in advance. All right. Look at your hat. Put two of them in your head. I mean, I've told you the biggest sin for pace of play. There's two outs, nobody on. You make a pitching change. I mean, I'm actually not kidding. If it's two outs, nobody on, you make a pitching change, your team loses a draft pick. That's all there is to it. You don't get to pick. You get to move on. And I've talked about that ad nauseum. The fact that I went to a game and there was two outs, nobody on. The game between Seattle and the Angels, and Joe Madden brought in a new pitcher to pitch to a batter who was batting 170, and his OPS was like 300 or something like that. Like I have a feeling the pitcher on the mound could handle this arduous task of getting out a 170 hitter with nobody on and two outs. We have to really stop the game for that. Think about all the things that are going to stop the game. That has to end. That has to end. And get the pitch in there. I just timed 40 seconds. That's too long. That's too long. You got the ball, check your hat, look at the sign, boom. I could do things like pull up a Built Bar ad read with while I'm doing this, while I'm talking. You could do more than one thing at once. And I don't want to spoil the illusion that the Built Bar thing came completely from my head. But it's like I could do that. You could do more than one thing. Catch the ball, look at the hat, get the sign, boom, next pitch. Batter there looks at the third base coach. Is there a squeeze play on? Is the runner going to be on? Okay, let's go. Boom. 25 seconds. But I'm willing to expand it to 40 to allow for a pitcher's mound visit. But that's the other. I mean, I make that clear. That's included in the 40 seconds. Run up. Hey, Mike. Yeah. Throw something different. Like what? I don't know. A splitter. Okay, run back. and a manager comes out, runs out. You got 40 seconds. Say, hey, yeah, stop doing what you're doing. Okay, bye. That'll pick up the pace of play and penalize it with a walk, or not a walk, but a ball or a strike. Either way, these are all fun things to do, fun things to think about, and little tweaks that we do like that could go a long way to pick up the pace of play and start playing those games that I really, really, really did I mention really want to see. Hey, once again, thanks a lot for making us your first listen, as we're available on all your free podcasts and catchers. And hey, make your second listen be, say it with me, Locked On Bets with your boy Q and insight analysis from Lee Sterling. It's your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Locked On Bets. It's free and available wherever you get podcasts. Talking about a film that makes fun of the end of the world and realizing an obscure scene in that film gives me some hope and a couple other tweaks and thoughts, including my dad's pronunciations. This is Locked On MLB for the 20th day of February, 2022. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.